It's easy once you know how it's done. Cut music! The answer comes from deep within the deepest embers of my heart. I would have to say the Professor Arsene Wenger. If you cut me now, Arsenal will spill out. So as much as it hurts me to say it, I have to say the most consistent team in the Premier League era has been Manchester United. Cut the music, let's roll! I think most people by now perhaps know that I'm a die-hard Arsenal fan. So it pains me to say this, but it is and has to be Manchester United. Ever since I started watching the Premier League, Manchester United has always been at the top of the heap, always in contention, always competing for the top spot. So as much as it hurts me to say it, I have to say the most consistent team in the Premier League era has been Manchester United. I think a lot of it has to do with Sir Alex Ferguson and his consistency as a manager, the culture that he brought to the club, and his entire tenure was, I feel, Manchester United's greatest period. Look, man, my favorite is the King, without a shadow of a doubt. His exploits for Arsenal, Thierry Henry, he has a very special place in my heart. So if you ask me who to choose a striker, the answer comes from deep within the deepest embers of my heart. It is Thierry Henry for me. Having said that, there have been some very, very influential strikers. I remember the Didier Drogba phase was, being an Arsenal fan, of course, the Didier Drogba phase was torment for Arsenal fans, and I used to always look at Drogba and admire him and his strength and his style of play. I would be the first one to tell you it's too early to speak, but I do think the way Erling Haaland is going, he might very well enter that conversation and enter that upper echelon of Premier League strikers. For me, again, being an Arsenal fan, Patrick Vieira. The way he led the Invincibles, he's a talismanic figure. You know, he's tall, statured, defensive midfielder. He just exuded daddy energy, you know, and I had the great privilege of meeting him when I went to see an Arsenal match, and we were walking through the tunnel, and my best friend, who's also a die-hard Arsenal fan, was walking in front of me, and I saw him react, and he almost turned into a human puddle, and I was like, what's up, man, what's up? I couldn't see what he's seeing, so I was like, isko kya ho gaya? And then I walked further ahead and I looked at what he was looking. It was Patrick Vieira in the flesh. I can't tell you what that moment was like for me, especially the fact that we saw him unexpectedly. It's like my knees turned into jelly. I became like a little girl. I was like, it was such a memorable and a fortuitous and serendipitous meeting. I have a picture, but also in the conversation, very much so, is John Terry. The way he led his men, you know, he was that classic mold of talismanic defender, big-bodied. He was just a natural leader, and he exuded that vibe. You know, you knew that John Terry was not to be messed with. Absolute beast of a player and a great leader. Once again, I would have to say the Professor Arsene Wenger. Look, man, I mean, if you cut me now, Arsenal will spill out. So I've been an Arsenal fan for more than half my life. So every time you ask me a question, my first instinct comes from here, and it's always to do with Arsenal, the Gunners. So I would have to say Arsene Wenger. He passed on to his players an ethos, a way of playing the game that that took, I would say, the entire league to greater heights. He raised the level of football across the league. Such has been the contribution of Arsene Wenger. I know what even a neutral will say. If I put myself in the position of a neutral and I leave aside my love for Arsenal, it has to be Sir Alex Ferguson. The consistency that he showed year after year with different sets of players, um, United always competing for the top spot, going through their own ups and downs, but still pushing to be the best, always year after year. And it was like Ferguson versus Wenger, then it's Ferguson versus this one, and Ferguson versus Mourinho, and Ferguson versus, but it's always Ferguson versus. What I remember going to the UK and we went to a football museum, and on the wall, and I have a picture of that moment too, was a quote from Sir Alex Ferguson, and it said, "Hard work will always outshine talent when the talent doesn't work hard enough." And that stayed with me, and I've always leaned on Sir Alex's philosophies. Can't not mention what Pep Guardiola has been able to do with Manchester City. Pep Guardiola is widely considered to be one of the greatest football managers. He's still in the thick of his prime, and he's built a super squad. Um, I think he will eventually achieve things that will be difficult to assail. He with this squad and this kind of backing, Pep is going to be able to create something that's unprecedented in my estimation.